Have you ever just stopped and thought about the ground right under your feet? I mean, it feels so solid, right? So permanent. Well, what if I told you that's all just a big illusion? Okay, let's get into this. Because our planet is anything but still. It's a world in constant, sometimes even violent motion.
You know, this quote just hits the nail on the head. Our world isn't some finished painting hanging in a museum. Nope. It's more like a living, breathing canvas that's being reshaped all the time by these incredible forces. So, let's just forget the idea of a stable Earth. Today, we're diving into why transformation is really the planet's natural state.
All right, first up, we're going to take a trip to some of the most restless landscapes on the entire planet. We're talking about places where you can see the raw power that literally tears continents apart, builds new land from absolutely nothing, and basically rewrites the map right in front of us. And we're starting deep, deep inside the Earth. We're talking about the raw creative engine of our planet, those tectonic and volcanic forces that sculpt our world from the inside out. This is where the real drama begins. So it all kicks off with this one huge concept: plate tectonics. The easiest way to think about it is to imagine the Earth's crust as a giant cracked eggshell. You've got these massive pieces that are always grinding against each other, smashing into one another, and pulling apart. That movement? That is the ultimate source of pretty much everything we're about to see. Now check this out. The exact same force, plates pulling apart, can create two completely different results. On one hand, you've got a whole country being ripped in two, and on the other, you have the birth of an entirely new ocean. How does that work? Let's take a closer look. Iceland is amazing because it's one of the only places on the planet where you can stand on the mid-Atlantic ridge and literally watch a continent splitting apart. You've got the North American and Eurasian plates just peeling away from each other, ripping the island open. And what happens then? Magma pours out, creating brand new land. A single volcanic eruption can totally reshape a valley in just a few days. It's incredible. And how fast is this happening? Get this, about 2 centimeters a year. Now, I know, that doesn't sound like much, but it's about the same speeds your fingernails grow. And in geological time, that is lightning fast. Over millions of years, that's more than enough to create an entire ocean. And speaking of making oceans, let's jump over to the Danakil Depression in Ethiopia. This place looks like another planet, but what's really going on here is a rare tectonic triple junction, a spot where 3 massive plates are all pulling away from each other at the same time. The ground is literally sinking, and geologists are pretty sure we're looking at the cradle of a future ocean. It's a real-time sneak peek into how planets evolve. Okay, so we've seen the fire from below. Now let's shift our focus to the surface and talk about the relentless power of water and ice. These forces might seem a little gentler, but trust me, their impact is just as massive. They carve, they shift, and they build our world in a never-ending flow. Just take the Amazon River. It's not just one river. It's a colossal, dynamic system. Look at how it winds and snakes. It's constantly carving out new channels and just abandoning the old ones. The sheer amount of water flowing through it gives it the power to move millions of tons of sand and silt, acting like liquid sandpaper on the continent. The map of the Amazon is basically never finished. And the scale of this change is just mind-boggling. During the rainy season, the river can swell to 40 kilometers wide. Let's be real, that's not a river anymore, that's an inland sea. It floods huge areas of forest and completely transforms the ecosystem for months on end. You know, deltas, like the one the Mississippi River creates, show us another kind of constant motion. They're built up grain by grain from sediment the river drops as it hits the sea, creating new land. But it's this constant battle. The river is always trying to find a new, shorter path to the ocean, while the very land it just built starts sinking and washing away. It's this non-stop cycle of creation and destruction. And then, of course, you've got water in its solid form. The glaciers up in Alaska, they aren't just static blocks of ice. They are literally rivers of ice, flowing under their own immense weight. They carve out entire valleys and fjords, and as they melt and retreat, they expose bare rock. But here's the cool part. Within just a few decades, life takes over, and you get a whole new ecosystem where there was only ice just a generation before. So we've gone from the fire deep inside the Earth to the water flowing on its surface. Now, let's zoom out and look at the slower, more rhythmic forces of climate and even life itself. You can almost think of it as the deep, steady breathing of our planet. We all think of the Sahara as the ultimate desert, right? But it's not permanent, not even close.
Because of a tiny 20,000-year wobble in the Earth's orbit, it actually cycles back and forth between being a vast, dry desert and a lush, green savanna with lakes and rivers. Can you imagine? The place we know as a sea of sand was once home to hippos and crocodiles. And this isn't a one-off thing, it's a pulse, a massive transformation that happens over and over again.
And sometimes the change isn't driven by geology at all, but by life itself. The Everglades isn't shaped by volcanoes, it's shaped by the flow of water through plants, a river of grass. This whole system is defined by constant change, seasonal floods, fires that reset everything, and this endless tug-of-war between freshwater and saltwater. In this case, life isn't just adapting to the change. Life is the change. It's engineering the entire landscape.
All right, so we've looked at fire, water, climate, and life. So what happens when we put it all together? Well, we start to see our planet for what it really is, a truly unfinished masterpiece, one that's constantly being reworked by all these incredible forces at once.
And when we look back, it's pretty clear that these forces all operate on totally different schedules. In Iceland, tectonic shifts can bring change in just days. The Amazon's flow changes with the seasons. The Sahara's grand cycle takes thousands of years, while the Everglades' biological system shifts over decades. But you see the theme here, right? The one constant is change. So really, the most important point is this. What we think of as stable is just a single frame in a very, very long movie. Whether it's the ground splitting open or a river forging a new path, transformation isn't the exception on our planet, it is the rule. And that really leaves us with one last question to think about. It's not just happening in these extreme, faraway places. From our own coastlines to the mountains we see, something is always in motion. So take a look around. What part of our world, maybe even in your own backyard, is transforming right now?